So we finished reading how animals communicate. Now what do we do? Well, as a good reader, we're not done communicating with our text. That conversation that we were having during our reading and before our reading needs to continue to happen. One of the things we need to do is we need to answer some of the questions that we had before and during the reading. Well, one of the questions we had was, how do animals communicate? Do you think you're able to answer that question now? Yeah, there's lots of ways that animals communicate. What we can do is think about, what did we say, but what did we talk about while we were reading, during reading? That's right, we talked about how animals communicate. And so we can refer back to the text. How did the dog and cat communicate? That's right, they were cuddling. They were cuddling, and that tells the other one that they're friends. They feel comfortable around each other. How did the rattlesnake communicate? Yeah, the rattlesnake rattles its tail, so it warns other animals to stay away. These are ways that we can communicate with our text, have that conversation. We're thinking about what's really happening. Remember how we started and I said, Mom and Dad aren't really listening if they're saying, yeah, They're not going to remember the conversation. That goes for you too, by the way. If Mom and Dad are talking, we can't say, yeah, because we're not listening, are we? So we don't just want to ask the questions, we want to answer these questions. So let's finish that conversation. We're thinking about it. We're remembering what we learned. And so when I say, who communicates? Well, this picture of the wolf tells me who communicates. It tells me that wolves communicate. They do that with their pack. They call the other wolves to let them know, hey, there's an animal over here. There's food over here. Watch out for this. They're always communicating with each other. And I'm having that conversation with my text because I'm answering the questions. So, what were some of the other questions we had about our text while we were reading? Yeah, you probably remember. The dog picture. We said, what do the animals do to communicate? Well, the dog puts his legs down with his rear in the air. That's telling the other dogs or even you that it's ready to play. What's another way animals communicate? Well, bees dance. They dance to let the other bees know there's food over here. Follow me. There's so many different ways and answers to the questions that we asked before and during reading. But now I'm curious. I've answered a lot of questions. I've thought a lot about how animals communicate. But I'm curious. I want to know what other animals communicate. Oh, sorry, friends. What other animals communicate? What do they do to communicate? And are there really cool ways that they can communicate? How am I going to find all of this information? Oh, I can keep reading. I can ask more questions. I can even look at videos to learn more about this. But the best part is that I stay curious. I want to continue to ask questions because that's going to make me a smarter individual. And that's going to help me when I go to read or when I go to write about this information. So your job right now is I want you to ask one more question. What else do you want to learn about how animals communicate? Do you want to know who else communicates? What other animals? Do you want to know what other ways do animals communicate? Or maybe when do other animals communicate? How about specific animals? Like, what do dolphins do to communicate? Or why do cats raise their backs high at different times and their fur gets puffy? We can talk about specific animals, or we can ask the questions about big topics like how more animals communicate. So, ask another question after reading. What else are you curious about? And Finish that conversation with your text by answering one of the questions either we asked as a class or you asked while you were reading. What else, or answer that question so you finish the conversation. Nobody wants a question left unanswered, so finish it.